Former Public Enterprises Minister Lynne Brown and former President Jacob Zuma have been found to be key figures in the state capture of Eskom. Though Brown refutes any links to the Gupta family and their associates, the latest State Capture Commission report suggests otherwise. The report details how Brown facilitated the capture of Eskom by the Gupta family by enforcing the appointment of chosen Gupta managers and board members. eNCA reporter Lindsay Dentlinger has been combing through some of those details and joins us now to just join the dots in terms of her involvement in the collapse of Eskom because of state capture. Thank you very much for joining us, Lindsay. Maybe just start with that in terms of her intimate connection to the state capture of Eskom that we saw.
So, Repewa, this really comes off the back of earlier reports which detailed Lynne Brown's connection in terms of the state capture of Transnet. And so these, as you point out, deal with Eskom. And so really following on from the findings the Commission made in those earlier volumes, it now says it cannot accept any of Lynne Brown's denials that she did not know the Guptas or the associates, most particularly a man named Salim Essa. And what's really proven to be her undoing, and which the Commission has really pinned its findings that she, with the help of the former President Jacob Zuma, helped to capture the board of Eskom, are her cell phone records. And even though she has in testimony told the Commission that she didn't know Salim Essa, the Commission found, going through her cell phone records, that at least 8 phone calls were made to the number linked to Salim Essa, and so if it wasn't him on the other end of the line, it certainly was somebody connected to the Gupta family. And in the time that those phone calls were made was also the time that new board members were being considered for Eskom. And the report also goes into some detail about who these members or these candidates who were being considered for the board. They were largely people who had no expertise in the field of the production of electricity, and the Commission also not accepting Lynne Brown's testimony that she was following due process in terms of making these selections, that she was casting the net wider than people who were already on an existing database that could be considered, and also not criticizing Lynne Brown for not producing security records for her official residence. You may recall that the former board chairperson of Eskom, Zolotsotsi, had said that there had been a meeting at her house at which at least one Gupta brother was present, and Lynne Brown saying that everybody who came to her house had to sign in, and if a date was provided, she would be able to show that these people were never at her house. But neither a date was provided for her to check, and the Commission also pointing out that she has not of her own volition made those security records available to the Commission so that they could indeed check whether a meeting with those alleged to have been present were in fact there or not. So the upshot really, Repewa, not really looking good for the former Minister Lynne Brown in terms of the Commission finding that she did indeed was involved with those who helped to capture the Eskom board.
And ultimately what it also highlights, Lindsay, is that there was this clear push to have Eskom basically completely Gupta controlled so that we could see lucrative contracts coming through, namely coal contracts, which we know many officials in South Africa would also benefit from.
Yes, and the former minister did give testimony previously about those coal contracts as well as those controversial consultancy contracts involving Trillian and McKinsey. And what the Commission finds is that Lynne Brown, it says, was quite interfering in the running of the board and also in the suspension or the pending suspension of certain Eskom executives. And all of this the Commission concludes or joins joins the dots, as you say, that this all was part of the bigger state capture project, that Lynne Brown was involved and feeding information back to the Gupta family in terms of pending suspensions and giving directions to the board not to suspend certain people or to suspend people. And so all of this is part of the project, the Commission says, to award those lucrative contracts, as you point out, and make sure that key people were in the key positions to facilitate the awarding of tenders that would ultimately benefit the Gupta family.
Lindsay, we've run out of time, but I have to ask you, have you reached out to Minister Lynne Brown? We've had the likes of Matsela Koko coming down hard on the details of the report. Has she said anything to you about some of those details? And also, what does the report recommend in terms of action that must be taken?
So as far, firstly, to the first point of your question, yes, I have made contact with Lynne Brown. She said she was still reviewing what has been said about her in this report, and she was not yet at a stage or at a point where she was prepared to comment. And of course, I have reached out to her to, if she does reach that point where she is prepared to respond, that she would do so on our channel. So no official comment from her, and in terms of making recommendations, I have not been able to quite conclude from what I've read so far that the Commission is making any criminal finding really against Lynne Brown. Of course, it does recommend that these Eskom board members that she helped to appoint be considered in terms of failing in their fiduciary duties, but certainly no criminal finding that I can see offhand made against Lynne Brown. Largely what the Commission is accusing her of is largely being untruthful about her relations with those who were involved in the state capture project, and of course then her role linked to all of that.
Thank you very much, Lindsay Dentlinger, and hopefully she comes back to you soon so we could get her side of the story as well. Lindsay Dentlinger in Cape Town over there, just breaking down some of the details that have come out in terms of Lynne Brown and former President Jacob Zuma's involvement in the state capture of Eskom.